Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. Hello, interwebs. I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the Frak, this podcast. I am your high-flying host, Jesse Gender, and I am joined, as always, by...
It's Vera. You didn't get me anything for my birthday.
Fuck you. I don't care about you. I love you very much. I'm sorry. I have been so busy. I was traveling this weekend. I got to prepare for a bunch of other things. I got to edit like 3 videos today. It's been hell.
No,
So I apologize.
I'm just giving you shit. I get it. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, when's the last time you got me my birthday present? Did you give me one last year? I don't even remember.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. See? Very memorable. How are you doing, Vera? How was your birthday?
It was okay. It was very low key, and it snowed, which it's done on my birthday actually intermittently for my entire life in a kind of pain in the ass way.
Oh.
I went with my boyfriend and we saw Project Hail Mary.
Oh, how was it? I haven't seen it yet. I wanted to see it. I was traveling this weekend, so I didn't get a chance to go see any movies.
Well, my main channel video the Saturday after we record this is going to be on it.
Oh, nice.
About it being a very good adaptation.
Nice, very good.
So
that's good to
it's
hear.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good. If you've read the book recently, it is going to dampen your experience because if you're anything like me, a part of your brain is going to be cataloging every change. And when a book is this detail oriented, there is technically on paper a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. I read it when it first came out, so it's
then
you
probably will be in a better position than I was.
Yeah, I remember the big story beats, but I don't necessarily remember all the nitty gritty. Though I will say, like, part of why I love Andy Weir in his writing is the detail oriented nature. Like, he is the one who I don't feel right now that I could explain all of the science to you, but when you're reading the book, you're like, yeah, I get all this science. This all makes sense to me. This is great. Like, he's very good at that level of technical detail and make it engaging and interesting, which is what I really like about him. So I can see, but that's hard to translate as much to a movie.
Well, I call that the House effect because the TV show House was very good at that, at laying these things out in a way that you follow all the medical jargon. You're like, oh yeah, I get it. Then it ends. You're like, well, can you explain it? No.
That's the pit right now for me. It's like full of medical like jargon and shit that is like, oh yeah, this is all very good, but you don't follow it. Like you're like, oh yeah, I have no idea what was going on. I remember there was a big injury and blood everywhere.
But yeah, no, it is a good movie.
Well, that's good. I'm excited to see. I'm probably going to see it this upcoming weekend, just because. Yeah, again, traveling this weekend, I got to see that. Ready Player 2. Ready or Not 2. Ready Player 2. Jesus Christ, do not want that. But Ready or Not 2, I do want to see. So probably going to be less good as the first one, but you know, I'm here for Sarah Michelle Gellar and Elijah Wood. So
there you go. And then I had multiple photo shoots on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm excited to get those pictures eventually.
Nice. All right, it's very good.
But yeah, mostly I am just tired.
Yeah. No, me too. Yeah.
I love you. I'd rather be sleeping.
Oh, same here. I totally understand. Yeah, this weekend I was traveling for a wedding. My partner, one of her cousins got married, and it was a really good ceremony. It was a huge ceremony. They got married at the chateau or whatever. Part of why she was able to do it because it's on a Friday in the middle of like the winter. So I was like, all right, it was cheap, but it was this huge chateau. Like they had a bunch of like food and all this stuff.
I know you said the chateau or whatever, but my brain really wanted it to be the chateau whatever.
The chateau whatever.
Chateau whatever.
I wish it'd be great. But yeah, no, it was good. It was but yeah, it was a great time. One of my favorite things about this wedding though is they hired for it a caricature artist. So like she would take a picture of you and draw draw a caricature of you and your partner. Which just during the wedding, which was just fun.
Well, taking the picture of you is a good way to have you not have to sit there the whole time.
Yeah, I know. It was good. Actually, my partner and I loved the picture, so we're getting it framed because it was cute. It was nice. So Yeah. So yeah, no, it was a good wedding, but I am just in travel and then dealing with my partner's family who are a pain in the ass in the best of times. Like her extended family, which is the group that was getting married, her cousins, they're wonderful. Love them. Her immediate family, brothers and sisters, let's just say I have thoughts and I'll leave it there in case.
Probably best to leave
Yes.
it there.
Yes.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
I mean, family is family, and we all have our own frustrations with them, but it's just a lot to deal with over the course of 3 days. So it's been a weekend. But well, I do believe in you in your birthday. Nope.
We gotta do
Nope, nope,
feedback
no,
from the previous one
shut
first.
up. I have it up correctly, but I did not say it correctly. Well, we're at a crossroads in our podcast right now. And
Uh,
speaking
uh,
of
Again, it's almost like we're at a crossroads part
part
two.
two, a second time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yes, we were talking about the comments from the episode Crossroads Part 2, the season finale of Battlestar Galactica Season 3. So, some of the comments are, where were they? 255AD said, Gata lying really annoyed me because I think the fact that they pulled a gun on Baltar is what the entire case really should hinge upon. It's the reason feel compelled to find him not guilty. They, meaning the Cylons, pulled a gun on Baltar.
Yeah. But I mean, that's exactly why he like
Hmm. No, I agree.
if that gives you a sense of moral outrage, cool, awesome. But for Gate as a character, oh yeah, I totally buy that.
Oh yeah, no, that was actually the thing that I liked about that episode. Is I mean, I like the episode generally speaking. But Gata lying, I thought was feels good for his character. However, someone else did have a really good point. And actually, this 255 AD, just a different comment. This point I actually agreed with. The thing they could have brought up in a cross examination of Gata is the fact that he tried to kill Baltar. Like, they could have used that to demonstrate accurately that Gata is willing to say or do anything to fuck over Baltar. That could have been a good line of questioning.
Yes, within the context of a court case, it's almost malpractice that they didn't. Within the context of a narrative, I get why they didn't because that was the exact same point that was made about Ty, and then we're just repeating beats.
Yes,
So
yes.
narratively, I understand why you don't do that. Taking it in universe as a court case, yeah, massive oversight to not bring that up.
Yes, yes. Another one here, CM Mosher 8035 said, I really liked BM of all.
Bear
The
McCreary.
Bear McCreary's take on All Along the Watchtower. And much like Jesse, I have rewatched that last clip numerous times. I may go rewatch it now. Also, I'm older, so I always loved the Hendrix version. So yeah, see, I'm not alone in liking the cover.
Again, like if I hadn't like I kind of psyched myself up for like, oh, and then the guitar's gonna kick in, and then like this cover kicked in. I was like, huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Well,
that's not necessarily a problem with the show, but that was still my experience.
I was what was also funny is I was listening to the Ronald D. Moore podcast about Crossroads Part 2, and he said he was worried. They put the lyrics in the episode, as I said before,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, I wonder if people will catch on to it or not." By the time you have the last one, which is like, there's too much confusion here or whatever, what the last one is like, they'll probably get it by that point. But apparently, he went to a screening of the finale with fans right around the time, and he's
Uh-huh.
said, "Oh no, they got it instantly." First
Yeah.
lyric. So yeah, it's just kind of funny. So. Any
That
comments?
is so often the case. I feel like when you get these behind the scenes things is the like every now and then you get a case of like the writers like, oh, some people get this, then nobody picks up on it. But way more often, they're like, ooh, maybe they'll get this around here and people figure it out way back here at the beginning. I like my favorite go-to on that is um with J.J. Abrams with Star Trek Into Darkness that people figured out because
Oh
there was
God,
this
yeah.
one shot in the trailer of these hands against glass and the fans figured out whose hand was on the glass because of the patterns of the veins on the hand, and they compared it to the actors.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, you do not understand the level of obsessive these people sometimes.
It's my favorite with video games where people are like, "Oh yeah, we put a secret in this, and we thought it would take like years for people to discover," and it's like, no, they found it like 2 days after the game released. You know?
Yeah. And then there's other stuff that is literally found decades later.
Yeah, like the Arkham City thing.
There's Arkham City things. There was like a um secret rainbow banana coin in Donkey Kong 64 that nobody found for 20 years
Yeah.
because it wasn't counted on the percentage completion tally. So
Mhm.
and it was put in a place where nobody would have a reason to look.
Yeah. Well, maybe people should believe a little bit more in the developers. And speaking of which, we're talking about the episode He That Believeth in Me. The series, or sorry, series, season premiere of season 4 of Battlestar Galactica. I can talk.
Good
uh,
luck.
yeah. Well, let us get into our recap of the episode. We start off basically right where we left off at the end of the season finale with.
Well, let's
Mhm.
back up. Let's
Okay.
back
All
up.
right. All right.
Because
What
you
have I
skipped it.
already screwed up?
Yes, you skipped over the new intro text.
Oh, I did. Is it before the before the first scene?
Yeah, it's literally the first thing.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, sure.
So literally the first thing is like, whereas before, I forget exactly what the wording was, but whereas before it was like, they were created by man, they rebelled, they have a plan, blah. Now, hang on, there is seven of them are known, four live in secret, one will be revealed.
Yep.
Fucking subtle.
Yeah, one will be
Don't you
revealed.
want to know who the last one is?
Mystery.
Yeah, literally before even a second of actual footage of the story, before even the previously on. Woo, mystery.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, well, then after that, we go to right where we left off with the season 3 premiere, or season 3 finale. Excuse me, I'm gonna get these all screwed up. With Lee flying next to Starbuck after she has just miraculously returned. And Lee is freaking out. He's like, "This is fracking crazy. I saw your ship blow up." Starbuck's like, "I've been to Earth, big blue oceans, fluffy white clouds." We even cut back to the Galactica for a hot minute with Adama saying who is in that ship, Rosalind saying this is a trick, and
Yeah,
Adama wanting to
because
get
they
verification.
she's on the radio, so they can hear her.
Hmm.
So, but nobody on the Galactica believes this.
Yes. Yeah, and Rosalind is very adamant that this is a trick. Um, and then the hostiles, the Cylons start coming in, and so Starbuck peels out and says, "Hey, helping keep up with me, like just like still being her as old self as if nothing really has changed." And Apollo's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh yeah, I'm keeping up with you," and like flies out with her. The fighting begins to start, and there's a big battle sequence. And again, there's some beats in here. Starbuck is flying around, shooting Cylons again, as if nothing has happened. Rosalind is repeating it's a Cylon trick. Um, During this, there's a moment where Adama's like, yelling about stuff like the reserves have broken through. We need to send out people. And he looks over at Saul and says, "What the hell is wrong with you?" It's like, "Hey, Saul, get in the game," sort of thing. And Saul says, "Never felt better in my life." Pulls out a gun and shoots Adama right in his eye.
Which I immediately just wrote down bullshit. I
Yeah.
knew immediately what this was.
Yes. And it, of course, is a fake out. Like, we turn the camera back and Adama's actually still there after we see Saul's horror and he's still yelling. It's like, "I gave you an order." Um, and he even says to Ty, "Everyone that has ever held a stick, I want them up in the sky." Like, we need everyone involved in this.
Yep.
What I will say about this moment is, yes, it is fairly obviously a fake out. I don't hate I don't hate it as much because it does give us a good reveal of where Saul's head's at the moment.
Oh, I didn't say I hated it. I just said I was not fooled by it for a second.
Yes.
I'm relatively neutral on it because yes, it absolutely does accomplish that. It accomplishes that in a way that is trying to be tense but isn't. But like as far as the character beat, it accomplishes that fine. So you're like, I don't hate this. I'm like, I don't either. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
shock of shocks, I don't hate this episode.
Oh, wow. Gasp.
I know, right?
I
It's
know.
been a
What is
minute.
that? Yeah, well, I know. Um, but we then cut down to the bowels of the Galactica, down in the hangar bay. And Chief is yelling at everybody. He's like, I want to get people up. He's seemingly like trying to just double down on getting the work done right now after he just literally moments ago, from his perspective, just learned that he was a Cylon. Anders comes up to him and they kind of whispers like, what if I get in the pilot seat and like a switch goes in my head and I become a full-fledged Cylon. I don't even know what I am right now. And the chief kind of doubles down on what Ty had said earlier, saying, "You're Samuel T. Anders, just remember that." But then Athena comes up and she says, "Oh, well, who else would he be?" Not having heard the rest of their conversation. And she's just like, "Hey, stay cool up there. You'll get through." And she walks away. And so then Anders says, "Well, maybe if she didn't notice that I was a Cylon, maybe other Cylons won't notice either." And Chief just says, "Get the Frak in your Viper."
Yep.
So yeah, we are aware that the other Cylons, like Athena, cannot sense that they're Cylons. At least is immediately. We get a little fuzziness on that later on, but can
Yeah,
can can at least be like, oh, he's definitely this one is a Cylon. So,
yeah. It also honestly, they've been super inconsistent about that
mm-hmm.
in general. They'll have some moments where like Athena like met Boomer and like instantly recognized which other version of her she was, and we're gonna have this thing with six in a little bit. Then, but then there's scenes like this where there's zero indication, and yeah, they're pretty inconsistent about whether or not and in what way to what extent Cylons can notice each other.
Yeah,
It,
whatever plot requires.
it is that is exactly that. It
Yeah.
is what does this scene need it to be? It's that.
Yes. We then cut to Baltar being taken by the women from that we saw him being taken by in the season finale last episode. And they said we're going to an unused compartment on the ship. And while they're doing that, I forget his name, but the bartender guy, the guy who was part of like the like mock trials, like
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't even realize that was him.
yeah, he catches him. So yeah, I forget his name. He's appeared a few times. Like he was, we saw him on New Caprica a little bit. He was part of the trials that the like secret trials that they were doing at the beginning of season 3 when they got back to the Galactica, and he showed up
Yeah.
as the bartender as well. So
Eh,
he's a guy who's gotten he's like random guy like we need a guy who's not a main character but is a guy we recognize. He's that guy. um for this. Bit of a hothead is generally his character. Um, anyways, we then see a Cylon Raider hit one of the fleet ships and it blows up. We learned that 600 souls were on that ship, so 600 souls are dead. Um, and there's a bunch of they start firing a bunch of missiles at the fleet, and Adama says, focus on only the missiles that are going towards the fleet because we can take the hits but the fleet can't. um Anders gets in his pilot seat and he's flying out in a Viper, and he starts saying like, all right, Samuel T. Anders, that's who I am. Like he's like trying to like double down on his like, this is who I am. And he
like
gets
turning it into a mantra.
Yes. And then one of the other pilots says, "Get your hand off the transmit button." He's been transmitting all that out. He's like, "Oh shit, sorry." So you can. I like that too because it communicates he's still worried about his identity, but then also he's still a rookie and still picking
Yeah.
things up. Yeah. Um. So this was a fun thing because I did listen to the Ronald D. Moore commentary on this episode. And we see one of the missiles hit the ring ship that we've seen in the fleet.
Yeah.
And it blows up part of the ring ship, like what part of the ring. And I was listening to the commentary. Apparently, Ronald D. Moore, the ring ship is his favorite ship in the fleet, and they were actually just gonna blow it up. That was gonna be the one that they were gonna blow up, and he's just like, "No, I like that one. Blow up a different one." and so he, and so he's like, "We still blew up part of it." So,
That sorry, that just makes me think. So I know I told you I saw Death on the Nile, the second Kenneth Branagh
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hercule Poirot. Actually, my side note, my boyfriend and I have started watching the British series of Poirot with
Hmm.
David Suchet. He's freaking great in that part.
Ah,
He's
cool.
really phenomenal.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's a scene early on in that with Poirot like getting offered all these little small dessert things.
Mm-hmm.
But he
When he's at that
wants
club in the beginning of the movie,
yeah,
right?
he wants to arrange them in a certain shape, and he's got one more than he needs for it to be perfect. And he says, "No, one of these must go." And they go to take one, and he goes, "No, not my little friend."
Yeah, I thought that scene was cute. It's not a good movie, but that scene was cute.
That's, I mean, like that line. I quote that at my boyfriend to make him laugh because it never fails to make him laugh. No, not my little friend.
That's
So
good. That's
ridiculous.
good.
But yes, but now I'm picturing Ronald D. Moore doing that with the ring ship.
Yeah, yeah. It just reminds. So this is a tangent on a tangent, but it reminds me of the quote that my partner, my Aaron and I quote all the time. Is we quote the line Nero. Why am I blanking on his name? Star Trek 2009. Eric Bana.
Ah, yeah,
He says to Pike, "It's like, no, I saw it happen. Don't tell me that it didn't happen." So we just say that line to each other over and over and over again.
yeah.
Anyways, ring ship gets blown up, or gets partially blown up. Anders is flying around, and he goes to try and shoot a Cylon raider that's chasing Celix. But then the Cylon raider turns around and faces right at Anders while they're flying, and Anders seemingly freezes up at this moment, but the Cylon ship scans him, and his eye blinks red. So the Cylon seemingly detects that the Raider at least detects that he's a Cylon, and then all of a sudden, all of the Cylon Raiders start flying back to the base stars, and they jump away. The base stars jump away.
You left out my favorite detail of this whole like locking eyes moment, which is
Mm-hmm.
that on the Raider, like they have the little red reticle
Scanning
that
thing.
like goes back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
as a nod to the original series. But like when it locked in on him, it stopped.
Mm-hmm.
That red dot stayed dead center, and it really was like locking eyes. Like that was great. I
Yeah, no,
love that.
it's a good, very good scene. I liked it quite a lot. Um, And as the ships leave, like Adama and everyone are like, what is going on? What's happening? And Tori, sort of like, who's on the bridge with everyone, she says, like, maybe something's changed. Because Adama's like, yeah, this was game over. They had us. Why did they could have just killed us all. And what happened? And Tori says, well, maybe something changed. And Rosalind's like, what could it have been? And Ty says, I have no idea, Madam President. And Tori and Ty obviously share a look because something has
Yeah,
changed. So,
something has changed. Although oddly, it's funny to me now you bringing up that moment again that this is not circled back on, and
mm-hmm,
not necessarily by Tori or Ty, but like I would think given the dispute that's going to happen later
mm-hmm,
around what to be done with Starbuck, I'm surprised that Rosalind in specific doesn't make the case like Tori said maybe something's changed. You know what changed? Starbuck came back.
mm-hmm,
Like she's back and they buggered off. You cannot tell me that's not connected. And I'm
mm-hmm.
kind of surprised that connection was never laid out.
Explicitly laid out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And not that I'm saying that that is the connection, like the way it's presented, it's something else. But I totally would think that Rosalind would make that link,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't.
Yeah, and I think she might even bring it up next episode. I'm not sure. For
That,
obvious reasons,
yes. To be
given what it
fair,
says.
that,
Yeah,
that this is a to be continued situation. So me saying it doesn't come up again might be moot if it does get brought up next episode.
yeah, yeah. But it could have been brought up explicitly here, given the discussion. So, asterisk on that criticism, but certainly could have been brought up. We then have Baltar arriving at the compartment that the women were taking him to. The bartender guy, by the way, sees him go in there. But it's a bunch of mostly women, some men, and it's
Boy,
giving me very Babylon 5 season 5, what's his face vibes.
oh God, what's his name?
I forgot his name too.
Starts with a B, doesn't it?
Byron.
Fucking Byron. Yeah, a bit.
Yeah.
A bit. I tell you, when he first got in there and he's working his way through the crowd, and initially all we're seeing are women, and I was just like, oh, fucking don't. And then we see some guys. I'm like, okay, Okay. Oh God.
I mean, it is still giving cult around a dude sort of thing, which
Oh
like
yeah,
if
it's still
yeah,
giving that energy, but for a hot second, I actually thought
it
that
was
they were
just
going to
Owen.
do an all women worship this dude, a
Yes.
cult of only women worshiping this fucking guy. And I was, oh, glad it's not that. There's other shit going on I don't love, but at
Yeah.
least it's not that.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. But yes, it's a cult of mostly young women worshiping Baltar. They even have like a shrine as we see at one point later on to him.
Like
Yeah.
a very honestly, very tacky shrine.
Yeah, it's a very tacky. They
Yeah, it's gaudy and it's got like flashing lights on it. It's like that's
to be fair, I'll give him some credit in that like, you're on the Galactica and it's like already resource scarce and then the Galactica I'm sure doesn't have a lot going on. So
I
like I
mean, we're
guess yeah.
talking resource scarce. My honest question that I'm not going to ask because I know the answer is ambiance is where the fuck did you get this many candles and how is this not a massive fire hazard? Like considering these are locked off rooms, how is that not setting off if nothing else a smoke detector?
Yeah, yeah, especially on a spaceship fire feels like it's a bad idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We have Starbuck coming back into the Galactica in the Viper Bay. And she gets off. She's acting all Starbucky and like again as if nothing has changed. She's like, "You need to check out my cameras ASAP, Chief. You got to see the pictures that I took of Earth." And so, the Chief is kind of reticent. He's like, I don't have anything for you." Like
Well, she's like, I need my post-flight checklist, and he's like,
I don't have one for
I
you.
don't have that for you.
Yes. People are whispering. Apollo just comes right up and hugs her. So he has no compunction about hugging her. And, Starbuck's like, yeah, it's okay. It's really me. And then Ty and Adama are talking. And Ty asks, do you believe in miracles? And Adama says, no, because they're sort of watching from a distance.
I
And then
believe in miracles.
then Anders comes up and he also hugs Starbuck and he says, I told everyone you were too fracking mean to kill. And then she sort of questions, like, what are you doing in a jock smock? Because he's dressed up in his Viper pilot gear. And he's like, well, yeah, I got my wings a week ago. And she's like, how, what? She says, I found Earth. And she's sort of confused, and she's like, I've been off the ship for over 2 hours
No,
and
it's
or
six hours
six hours.
is
Yeah,
according to her clock.
yeah, 6 hours. Um, and she's like, Sam says, I'm telling the truth. We all thought you were dead. It's been 2 months. So, and then we have Adama sort of yelling at her. It's like, Starbuck, I need you in sick bay. Kyle needs to check you out.
Yep.
Yep. We then got back to Baltar and the cult. And the women that took him, including the mother from that we saw a few episodes earlier, she says, we'll be back soon. Don't go anywhere by yourself. It's not safe. And Balthar sort of knows, like, oh yeah, you're going to see your boy, Derek, to the mother, the one that's sick bay. Well, I've been praying for his recovery. And so, and then he asks, like, well, what's the game plan? How am I going to get off the ship? And they said, none of the other ships will have you. And that sort of
Yeah.
like sort of gives Baltar pause as they head out.
Yeah. Sorry, dude, that this is as good as it gets for you right now.
Yeah. As they leave, Head Six shows up and starts talking. It's like, you're facing execution. You were facing execution a week ago. Now you're free. Why the long face? And he sort of goes, well, I went from the president of the colonies to the king of fools. And he sort of looks over at the Baltar shrine that we talked about. Am I sort of doomed to live out the rest of my life in this loony bin? And Head Six like, well, I brought you this far, too far to let it end here. But Baltar's like, well, I need hope for the future, some inkling, some sign. And she's like, you've got me. And it cuts away, and one of the young women that is here, Pylia, I think is her name. I wrote it down later on. We'll catch it later, but it starts with a P. She comes over, and it looks like Balthar is praying, considering where Head Six had sort of like
Yeah,
left him to
he
socialize.
was like holding her hand and but
Yes.
because she's not really there, it looks like he's like this.
Yes, and she says, "Well, that's really beautiful. Whenever I pray to the gods, I feel empty." And then Head Six says to Baltar, her gods are false. And this is what Baltar jumps off. Is like, yes, well, when you pray to Zeus or Poseidon or any of them, it's because it is empty. It's a totally empty experience. They're not real. They're propagated by a ruling elite to stop you from learning the truth. Um, there's only one God. In a nutshell, that's the truth.
Well, let's also note him saying that is prompted by Head Six.
Yeah, saying there's only
Head
one God.
Six says there's only one true God. Tell her that,
Yes.
and that's when he says that.
Yes. But then the girl takes his hands, Baltar's hands, and we don't see it directly, but it's very heavily implied by the what was going on that she puts his hands on her breasts and she says, "Can you feel God's presence?" And Baltar's like, "Yes, yes, I can." Blah.
Okay, so a couple things about this. Firstly, just the general blech that I just feel about a lot of Ronald D. Moore's
Mm-hmm.
attitudes and writing of women in general rears its head again. But within the setting, I also feel like this, depending on where this goes, this kind of has the potential to undermine the point I would like it to make because they're obviously kind of setting up a cult
Like Charles
like,
Manson thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm not saying it's an uninteresting story, but if you're going to try and do an actual parallel to any actual cult of personalities or small scale cults that have actually exists, this thing of where like the cult adopts somebody who basically just gets inserted into leadership position. This is a narrative contrivance. It's not a thing that happens.
Yes.
These
That was my
cults
main
are
point.
these cults are built by the people who are worshipped by the members. So thrusting him into the middle of this and basically having a cult be a thing that happened to him
Mm-hmm.
is I'm not super comfortable with it. And again, I'm not going to say that there's no ways to make that work. I think there are some stories that have been told but it's usually in cases where it's more about a cult of celebrity,
Mm-hmm.
where like this note where it's more about parasociality. And this doesn't feel like it's doing that. It is very much doing a religious cult thing, and that's not how these things form.
Yeah, especially the sexual aspect of it, because I'm when you look at someone like again, I'm not saying this show is doing a one for one with like Charles Manson or whatever, but a lot of those cults where it's a guy who creates a mostly women cult that he then has sex with, takes advantage of, and all of that jazz. That is something that they actively built. They
Yeah.
actively set up, and they're taking advantage of these women and their whatever mindset that they may in, trying to isolate. Like, there's a level of working to make this thing happen, to like isolate these women from other cultures, from their family, from other people. There's usually, even for the men that are there in these types of cults, they're usually also isolating the men too, but also creating like weird hierarchies around that, and like who gets access to women as women is like a commodity and these things. Like, there's a whole element of how these cults get built that is deliberate by the person in charge of them. And yeah, Baltar just sort of it happening to him removes the very important, like, if they're gonna do a storyline of like, yeah, Baltar takes advantage of these women and their belief in him, that's again a thing that does happen and a worthwhile story to tell. But by just letting it happen to him, it removes any of that level of culpability that he would have in setting up the situation where he gets to be able to take advantage of these women.
Yeah. And it kind of removes culpability of him in a way that leads me to think that this show's not actually going to treat his behavior as taking advantage of them, because
Mm-hmm.
instead it's putting him in the position of, well, she threw herself at me. What do I gotta do? Say no? Yes. Fuck
Mm-hmm.
nut. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it puts you in a situation where sympathetic might be the wrong word, but you're almost like you're disinclined to blame him. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
this he didn't do this happened to him, and it makes me think, or honestly kind of at least hope, that they're not going to even bother trying to do a he is taking advantage of his worshipers thing. Which, if you're going to do a cult story, especially if it is specifically religiously based, is kind of what you should be doing. But at this point, I'd actually kind of rather they didn't. I still don't think that it's a good idea regardless. But at this point, if they go in that direction and make it that he's taking advantage, the fact that he didn't build this is going to really undermine any attempt to tell that story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we shall see as we go along.
Yeah, like
Um,
at this point, I would rather take the mild gross feeling I have now than than the active anger I will probably feel if they try and start to do what most cult stories probably should be, but this has not built itself to be.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember. Like, I remember this storyline, and I remember one aspect of it that will come up in the future that I feel like you'll be annoyed by. But it's not like a heavy thing, and it's just an element of it. And I forget plot wise where this goes, so we'll see where it ends up happening. Um,
Well,
anyways,
based off Babylon 5, cults in space, bad plots, bad
yeah, yeah,
storylines.
yeah, yeah,
Like we're 0 for 1 so far. We'll see if this does any better.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see. We then cut to Adama talking with Starbuck alongside, I think, Rosalind's there and Ty and a few others. And basically having a meeting, and they sort of ask, like, well, Starbuck asks, well, how did everything check out with Coddle? And they basically say, well, they found that you're not a Cylon, at least so far as we know so far. But they asked, like, let's go through it again. What happened to you? She said, and Starbuck's like, well, I followed the heavy raider into the storm, and then when I woke up, I was in orbit of a planet, the one that matched the description in Pythia. I took these pictures in orbit that matches the tombs of Athena. And they sort of asked, like, how did you get here? And she's like, I don't know. I remember taking the photos, turning my ship's heading, and then I'm not sure. I blacked out again. I remember there being a giant gas planet with rings, a triple star, and a comet, and that's really about all I remember. And it just felt to me about 6 hours. So, yeah, that's
Yep.
basically her story.
That's her story. She's sticking to it. Ain't nobody believing it.
Mm-hmm. We then cut down to the Viper Bay, and they're checking out her Viper, which is a brand like chief. The chief is there, and it's like it's got the same tail number and all of that jazz, but it looks like it's just been run off the showroom floor. And they basically said, so it's not the same ship. It's like, yeah, unless they got a hell of a body shop, it's not the same ship. So,
Yep.
um, and they ask about the nav computer data, and he says there isn't any. It was blank. There's no record of anything. And then at this point, Rodden just goes, "Put her in the brig." I mean,
I mean, like,
understandably.
what the hell else is she supposed to do?
Yeah, no, absolutely fair. And Apollo's like, what? Are we back to thinking she's a Cylon? And they talk about, yeah, she still could be a Cylon. Ty brings up, well, Cylon, the Baltar Cylon detector was a crock of shit, essentially. Failed to ID
Yep.
Boomer. And this is and Rosin's like, yeah, this is all exactly what the Cylons are counting on. And we have Tori, Ty, and Tyrell all sort of giving each other looks because they're three Cylons.
They're all conveniently in the room.
Yes, yes. Starbuck, Rosalind sort of says, like, Carathrace is probably, trying to lead us off course. The nebula was supposed to be a road sign on the way to Earth. And Apollo starts making the argument. It's like, what if Starbuck was the clue? What if she was the clue that we were meant to find? And Roz is like, well, what if she's just playing all of us?
Yeah. And like the scene communicates pretty decently that like they are just in a situation where there's so much they don't know that they could literally construct any reality at this point.
Yes,
Like
yes.
the
So they,
reality that Lee has constructed is that Kara's back and it's her and what she's saying is true. And Rosalind is constructing a reality where Kara is a Cylon or at least mixed up in them and is trying to divert them. And there is equal evidence for both, which is to say, almost none.
yes, yes, very much so. We then go back to Baltar, and he is being woken up. He slept with a girl, like we see him naked with a girl, but he's being woken up by the other women who come back, who don't seem to be bothered by him sleeping with her. Um,
Again, very like that more than anything, very cult vibe. The complete, oh, right. He had sex with one of us. Of course he did.
yeah,
Don't worry about it.
yeah. But they have brought back Derek, and they said he's sick, and they have all the women are sort of around Baltar, and they sort of say, "Is there anything you can do?" And they sort of explained he has a viral inflammation of his brain. And Baltar's like, "Well, look, if it's a virus, it's up to Derek's immune system." And the mother said, "Well, we have to be strong for him. We didn't want him to die in sick bay, so we wanted him to be with us." And she asked Baltar to pray for him. And Baltar just says, "Well, I prayed for him." And the implication here that I kind of like is that he did not, and he's just saying that he did, like because we
Yeah.
heard she wouldn't know because
Yeah.
she asked him to pray for him way back when he was still in his cell. So he probably didn't pray for shit.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely not.
yeah, but he's saying it just like very forcefully of like, I definitely did. I totally did. You know I did. Um, and one of the, I think the mother or one of the followers, I think it's the mother, says, well, I guess the one
It's the
true,
mother.
yeah, the one true God doesn't want him to live, right? And this sort of like Baltar sort of thinks on this.
So that line hit me weird
Mm-hmm.
because all right. So I know technically we've had implications that like monotheism is not an alien concept um to our human populace. It's just not what is widely believed.
Mm-hmm.
But it just struck me as really weird because my brain kind of hit a complete speed bump when she said the one true God doesn't think he should live because yes, Baltar expressed the I mean he didn't use the phrase one true God out loud. That was Head Six's phrase in his head, but he did express there is only one God to the girl that he just slept with, who we know never left because they just came in and she was sleeping next to him. So when the hell did this other woman hear about a one true God and know that that would be the right thing to say to Baltar?
Yeah. Yeah, the only way it makes any sense is if there's been like he's been there a little while and he's been talking about the one true God, but the implication is that no, it's just been
Yeah, that
no.
that is not covered at all. If that's what's meant to happen, there's zero indication of it. And given how tight the timeline is on everything else, I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah, so it's odd. It's very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so we then cut to a meeting between Tori, Tyrrell, Anders, and Ty, a secret final four of the final five Cylon meeting. Um, and they sort of are like talking about everything. It's like, is anyone still hearing that song? And they sort of assume like maybe it stopped when they figured out what we are. You know, it could have been a trigger to switch us on that like someone was sending. And then Anders starts talking about it's like, yeah, well, when the Raider scanned me, I think it recognized me as a Cylon. Um, and he just sort of is questioning. It's like, well, why didn't I shoot the Cylon? Like, he didn't, like, they all went back to the ship after he scanned me, and that probably is what's going on there. But, like, why didn't I shoot him? And Ty starts like going like, well, you just made a nugget mistake. Like you just made a mistake because you had your safeties on, and it was just an easy mistake to have made because you were new. And
Which,
then
to be clear, he did have his safeties on. That's not Ty like coping because he was like hitting the buttons and nothing was firing before. So that's
mhm.
actually true.
Yes. And Anders says, well, maybe I was programmed not to shoot at it. Maybe I was programmed to put the safeties on. And Ty's like, nope, they can't program me to help them. Um, and the chief brings up, well, Boomer thought the same thing, but then she shot the old man. And Ty points out, well, she didn't know who she was. We do. And then he takes out a gun and says, agreed. You know, like, well, it's not going to help them at any point. So the implication being like they'll kill themselves before they do anything else if they
Yep.
if they are going to turn on each other, you know, turn on the
Yep.
humans. So.
And like that's a very valid point. Like I don't know what it means that they now know what they are, but also don't seem to be acting, at least so far as we can tell, under any pre-programmed orders.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is a very major difference between them and Boomer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so it's important to point out. We then have Rosalind going to see Caprica 6. And she starts by saying, I don't know why I'm here. Yes, I do. I'm here because we've shared visions, and I think that maybe you can help me because you kind of got a better look at everything I'm feeling than anyone else has. Because of that, I need to know about the other five, the types we haven't seen. And Six sort of points out is like, because you think Kara Thrace is one of them, and Rosalind's like, yeah. And says, well, I've been programmed never to think about them. And Roz is like, well, your programming isn't working because you're thinking about them right now. And Six is like, well, I try not to. And she says, trying not to think about them is thinking about them. So how do you rationalize that?
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
somebody running up to you and going, "Quick, don't think about cats."
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fuck. Now I'm just thinking about cats. But then Six stands up in seemingly an aggressive move. At least that's how the guard interprets it. But Roslyn sort of pushes him back. Says, "Hey, just stay in the room, but back up." And Six says, "The five are close. I can feel them." So that kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier, the nebulous nature of whether she can sense them or not, and who can
Yeah.
sense them or not. So yeah. The way I interpret it, just with Athena, but then this is that like they can't know, like oh they can't like have a honing trigger on like it's Ty who's the silent, but they just have a general vibe of like yeah I think they're around. I kind of feel a final five kind of vibe right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't track though, because Athena would tell somebody.
Yes, that's the only other thing. Yes, I
Yeah.
wish I
So
wish it had
like,
been said like Athena mentions like I'm feeling something weird too. You know what I mean?
yeah. So like within the narrative, it's coming across more like only six can feel
Yes.
other silence, which I mean, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, yeah. We'll see how it goes. But then we cut to a scene where Starbuck is with Gata and she's trying to figure out what the planet is that she was at. Like, and they're like looking at different planetary systems. And you know, they're looking for like Gata's like, well, there's no planetary system with the ring gas giants that we can find. And Starbuck's like, I did see them. And she's like, starts to try to order him to help and do something, and he gets all heated. It's like, you're ordering me? And Hilo kind of steps in and says, "Hey, go, go somewhere else, do something else." And he goes, "With pleasure, sir." So Gata's got a little bit of a like a "fuck you, Starbuck" sort of attitude. Um, so, but then Hilo sort of asks Starbucks like, "Hey, what's going on?" And Starbucks like, "Well, I see it on his face. No one believes me." And Hilo goes, "Well, if you want people to believe you, find that star system. We've only been at it for a few hours." And he sort of asks like, "How does it work?" And she's like, well, it's like a feeling and intuition. I didn't use nav fixes or anything like that. When we were at the nebula, it was so clear to me where we needed to go. And if we keep going, keep jumping away from the nebula like this, I won't be able to find my way back. Um, and I think Adama shows up at this point and is listening to this. And I think he was the one that asked, how does it work? He was the one that asked that. So he sort of showed up at that point. And Adama says, well, the president is adamant we follow the Eye of Jupiter path. And Starbucks like, well, we're going the wrong way. They jump again, and she like kind of gives her a headache. Sort of she reacts to it. It's like, we're going the wrong way, and if we keep jumping, I won't be able to find that feeling again. And Adama's like, well, what do you want me to do? Forget Pythia? Because you say you have a feeling on where Earth is, and Starbucks like, yes. And then Adama brings up like, well, I just left your ship. There's not a scratch on it. It's brand new. How do you explain that? And she says, look at me. I swear to the gods, it's me, Kara. I can do this. You once said you love me like a daughter. You got to trust me on this one. And Adama says, I can't afford to.
Yeah, I actually am really glad they added the detail of Kara saying like every time we jump away, we're going the wrong direction and I'm losing this, because that additional pressure on her was kind of necessary to have her not be frankly an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Because by any reasonable metric, while it would obviously be frustrating when something you've experienced, everyone's saying, we don't believe you, like the degree to which she's not being understanding of how insane the things she's saying are would come across as honestly really irritating
Mm-hmm.
for her character, if not for the inclusion of this sense of losing time that she has. Like she's getting desperate because she's running out of time to convince anybody, and right now nobody's on her side. So that was a real crucial detail to actually have this work in terms of her level of frustration, desperation, and where things go with her.
Yep. No, I agree completely. Um, and we cut to a scene that I genuinely like, where Apollo and Adama are both watching footage of Starbuck's death, down in the CAG, the Viper pilot, ready room, whatever you want to call it, situation room. And Adama sort of says like, what should I do? Follow my heart or my eyes? And Apollo says, you know what I believe, meaning that he believes that Starbuck is really Starbuck. And Adama says, well, maybe that's what the Cylons are counting on. And he says, right now we should follow the president's lead. And Apollo sort of asks, well, is she still staying in your quarters? And Adama's like, well, until she finishes her treatments, maybe we find somewhere to put her up. Um, and then Adama says, well, thank you for joining the fight at the Nebula, Tilly. And, he says, we needed everyone up there. And he says, we still do. And he hands back Apollo his pips, essentially, to say, come back into the fleet, into the military. Um, And he says, Elise says, I took this off for the wrong reasons. And Adam says, well, put him back on. He's like, well, Baltar's trial was the trigger, but it's a feeling I've been having. It's time for a change. I put feelers out to the government. They have a positioning opening up. I can make a valuable contribution there, maybe more than in the cockpit. So we're going to get politicianly. But then he asks
Position opening up, like that's the vaguest shit. Like, what position opening up? What are people leaving to do? Like,
yeah,
what do you mean?
yeah. It's
Like,
vague.
did somebody die?
Yeah.
That honestly,
I
I
mean, we
kind of
did
would have
lose 600 people, so maybe.
yeah, like honestly, I kind of would have preferred like, well, we just lost the
Bob,
secretary
Bob
of
died. Yeah.
yeah, the secretary of whatever on that ship. So like, cool, because otherwise I'm like, what do you mean there's an opening? What?
Yeah, did you put in an application? Like, what's the, yeah. It's like not like Rosalind doesn't know you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a little weird.
yeah. But I do like this last beat where Lee sort of looks at Adama and says, "Dad, what if Zach had been the one to come back to us in that Viper? If our brother had climbed out, would it matter if he was a Cylon? If he always had been one, would that have changed how we really feel about him?" And Adama doesn't really have an answer to that.
So I'm kind of two minds on this.
Mm,
I like it, but it's also very stupid.
yeah.
Like that is an absurd comparison to compare somebody who has been dead for literally years and would have no business being alive at all, much less anywhere near here, to someone who, yes, did vanish for a couple months, but like that's not the same thing. It's a very stupid comparison. But I like it anyway because it's a comparison to make a plea to emotion, which is
Yes.
what Lee is operating on. So he makes an emotional argument. Personally, I think it's a bad one, but it is an emotional
It's the
point
place
that he's
that
making. And so he leans on the emotional levers.
and it's also where I mean, earlier in the scene, Paulo made very clear he's following his heart, not his logic. And
Yeah.
so by making an emotional argument, it kind of fits where he's at. It's like I kind of want start like the reality that he's forming, as we've been clearly seeing through the episode, is like he wants this to be Starbuck because he loves her, cares about her, and wants it to really be her. And so that is the reality that he is choosing to live in for the time being, because there's no other arguments really strongly to the contrary.
Yeah.
So,
Like this is a case where I feel like a character makes a bad argument, but it fits and it also fits that it might actually work.
yes,
So
yeah.
it's an interesting thing when that happens. Here's what I am going to be wondering, and I'll be very curious to see if it gets addressed. Roslyn, by all indications of the narrative, had previously been directing them the right way. Why does her path now not? Why is it now going the wrong direction? And why is it now Starbuck? I am like, I feel like the second half of that will be answered. I feel like the show cannot fail to answer the question, why Starbuck? I don't know if I count on this show to answer the question, why no longer Rosalind?
Hmm. I So let me put it this way. I do think there is an answer to that, and there's one that I can clearly see, knowing what I know about how the show ends. I don't remember if the show overtly states it, but I do think there
Ah,
is an answer to that you can intuit based on the information that you get by the end of the series.
okay.
Whether or not I think if that it overtly states that I don't like, it says this is the reason why not Roslyn. I don't know if it like says that one for one. But looking at all the information, I'm like, well, I think that's probably the reasoning. But that's all I'll say on that point.
Okay.
So, all right. We then go back to the Baltar cult, and Baltar is sort of looking at Derek, the child, as he's sort of sleeping with his mother. And he goes over to him and actually starts praying. And he says, I'm only asking this one time, God, don't let this child die. Has he sinned against you? He can't have sinned against you. He had never had enough time to do that. How can you take him and leave? Let me live. If you want someone to suffer, take me. We both know I deserve it. I've been selfish and weak and failed so many people, and I've killed. And I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm just asking you to spare the life of the child. Don't take him. Take me. And he actually tears up during this and actually seems to be sincere. And a lot of the women and people around him sort of take note of this, including
Yeah,
the
because
mother.
this is all out loud.
Yes. So this actually does seem to be a sincere moment of for Baltar that other people hear.
Hmm.
Now, what I like is we're gonna get in the next scene of a confirmation that no, he sincerely means this, and it wasn't just performative. Um, we go the next day, and he's with Paula, and this is where I got the note because the subtitles actually gave her a name, unlike the actual show. Um,
Yeah. Why would you name these women? What? Why
Women,
bother?
no, yeah, they're just sex girl number one, you know. But Paula, who's the young girl that Baltar slept with, they're
And yeah,
walking.
like it's worth noting, like she's not distressingly young, but she is notably younger than he is.
Yeah, something that he will note on in just a second.
Yeah.
Uh, they're walking to the bathroom, and she's like, "We were all moved by your prayer." And she's like, I'm trying to remember exactly here. My notes aren't clear. Sorry, apologies. Uh,
You
you
just
know,
suck at this.
yeah, right. Yeah, thanks. Um, she says, "Does God hear your immortal soul?" I believe is what she says. And she's like points out, it's like, well, you have to keep the faith because Baltar sort of like waver in that. And she says, "We look to you for guidance." And Baltar says, "Well, you shouldn't. You're very young," is what he says. He sort of hesitates for a second. Um, and then he says, "What are we doing here in the bathroom?" And she shaves his beard. So he,
Well, like there's this moment where she just takes out a razor and smiles and doesn't say anything. And then it cuts to her shaving him. And I actually kind of like this as a small visual detail. There's a couple of nicks on
yeah,
him.
she fucked up. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Like, so I kind of like that because I don't know about you. I've never tried to shave somebody else's face, especially not with a straight razor. I would be terrified to do that. So I kind of like the idea that like she's probably never done it before.
yeah, she sucks at it. It's fine. Yeah, she didn't kill him at least, but
No,
we're
no.
gonna get somewhere with that.
Yeah.
The bartender guy comes in. He's like, "Hello, Mr. President. Good to see you again." And Paula reads this accurately right off the bat. She's like, "Hey, we should probably go." Um, but bartender guy starts kicking up a conversation with Baltar, and Baltar seems to be, going with it. It's like, "Oh, we met at the groundbreaking. You met my son Kevin. You said he could be president if he kept up his schoolwork." And he's like, "Oh, how old is he? 7?" Um,
Well, Baltar even remembers it. It was like, oh, redhead child. Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah.
what was he? Did 8, 9? The guy's nope, he's 7.
And he's like, "How is he?" And bartender guy says, "He's dead. Your police shot him." This is when Paul is like, "Let's get the fuck out of here." But bartender guy punches out Starbuck, and another friend comes in, and huh, huh?
Just said Starbuck.
Sorry, Baltar. Bartender punches Baltar. Sorry, and then another guy comes in, and he starts, grabbing Paula and starts grabbing her and hurting her. Baltar starts yelling, "Leave her alone!" And bartender guy says, "Scream, come on, scream, see if anyone comes to help you." Um, and he's like, I bet you begged for the Cylon, so beg, get on your knees, and beg me to save your life." And he starts digging the straight razor into Baltar's neck. Like we get to see some blood. Like it's
Yep.
going really into him. Um, uh, and Head Six then shows up at this point, and she says, "You asked God to take your lives instead of the boys. Did you really mean it?" And Baltar says to her, but he's also kind of saying to the bartender guy, "Yes, yes, take my life. Take my life. Do it. I want you to do it. Hit me." That sort of thing. Not that crazy, but yeah, he's like, "Yes, do it." But then Paula manages to break free of the other guy, gets a weapon, like I think like a metal bar, and she saves
Yeah,
Baltar and beats.
it's like a pipe or something.
Yeah, and she beats up the guy, and Baltar kind of has to pull her off of him, the bartender guy. But she saves both of their lives.
Well, like let's be real clear. She beats the shit out of both of these men.
Mm.
And there's a line later that implies she didn't kill them. I do not believe that.
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll see the bartender guy again. That other guy's fucking dead. I do not believe for a second she did not bash his head in. And
Hmm.
honestly, good for her. I actually not that it takes the curse off of stuff that the show's doing with her overall, but like I kind of appreciate that they didn't turn her into a like a pleading
Damsel in
damsel
distress. Yeah.
moment, and that instead like she breaks free of this guy and just beats him to death with a bar.
Yeah, and she's the one to save Baltar, which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because she smacks the other guy upside the head and gives him a few more whacks. He might not be dead. First guy's dead. There's no way she did not cave his head in.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do not. I refuse to believe that he is alive.
Yeah. Well, they go back to the cult room, and Paul is kind of running on an adrenaline high on this. Like, I knew God wouldn't desert you. I felt God's strength just coursing through me, and I was able to save us. So she's kind of got an adrenaline high on this. Um, but Baltar gets back, and people are like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, I just cut myself shaving." And they say, "Well, you have to come and see Derek. God answered your praise." And Derek's just sitting there, kind of looking a little bored, but he's doing better. And they're like, "It's a
Yeah.
miracle."
Well, see, they took off his sickly makeup, so he's no
Yes,
longer like green,
yes,
and
yeah.
so now he's just a bored child actor.
Exactly. Sit here, child. It's like, okay, should I say anything? Do anything? Can I have a game? No, no, no. You're just gonna sit here.
Now you're gonna sit here for an hour and a bit.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm sure it was a very bored child actor. Anyways, we then cut to Starbuck looking at her photo up on the death wall, that we've seen throughout the show, and Anders comes up to her. And it's worth noting she has guards that are sort of watching her from a distance that we get note of throughout the scene. And she talks to Anders like, no one took it down, meaning her picture, not the old man, not Lee, not even you, Sam. And he goes, well, we're all trying to handle this as best we can. You need to cut some people some slack, even cut yourself some slack. And then Starbuck starts like kind of expressing her anxieties and worries to Anders. Like, when I woke up on Earth, I thought it was a dream. I went in following a heavy raider, and maybe the Cylons did capture me. Maybe, on Caprica, maybe they grew another me in a petri dish and then put memories in me or whatever. Like all these options that she thinks like might be happening. She's starting to doubt her conviction that she had only a little while ago. Um, and then Anders goes like, "Well, no, if you were a Cylon, you've been one since the beginning. Like Boomer, you wake up and discover you're something else. He goes like, Boomer, though, you may wake up and discover you're something else, but it still doesn't change who you really are. You're the person that I love, no matter what." Um,
Now I know you're about to get to her reply to that, and we'll get to that. I'm just going to highlight this because I am going to, for the time being, until I have evidence to tell me otherwise, I am taking this as the show saying these are not copies of humans that
mm-hmm,
were replaced.
mm-hmm,
These people are just Cylons and have always been Cylons. I am
mm-hmm.
I am now just taking that on board, and I'm done asking that question and done wondering about it.
I
I
I honestly
I
wouldn't, because there will be more to that.
well, see, here's the thing. When we get more, I'll deal with that. But for the time being,
Mm-hmm.
I am taking this as the show saying, here's what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. We will get more on the backstory of everyone here at some point. So
I'm sure eventually we will.
yeah,
But
yeah,
for right now,
yeah.
I'm good.
Um, so what I like about this, and then we're gonna get a good response here that I like even better because it adds some interesting stuff. But this is obviously Anders. He's saying this to Starbuck, but he's talking about himself.
Oh yeah.
And he's very much being like, it doesn't change who you are. This is really, is like, he's saying this to Starbuck, but he really means like, I, I am still me, regardless of the fact that I'm a Cylon. And he's trying to like be reassuring to both her and to him, and hoping that he will get a kind response in return that makes him feel better about him being a Cylon. And
That's
Starbuck,
not what he gets.
nope, Starbuck's response is, well, you're a better person than me. If I found out that you were a Cylon, I would put a bullet between your eyes. So, and to say that to someone who is actually a Cylon and kind of having to freak out about it, it's didn't go over great, but he sort of tries to bury it down. What I will say is, like, I really like the scene. It reads very queer to me, actually.
Hmm.
Like there's a very queer. I don't know if the show was conscious of it or not, but it is a very queer metaphor in the
Given when
sense.
it was airing and who was writing it, I'm gonna say no.
No. But it is a very queer thing of being like trying to test the waters. Like, hey, I support you no matter what. Like, even if you were gay, I would just support you. And then maybe having someone be like, well, if you were gay, I would leave you in an instant. And you having to be like, bury it down, be like, mm-hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like I mean, I've done that exact same thing. I mean, I was lucky enough that like whenever I said it, it was usually fine. But like, there are queer people when they're trying to figure out whether they can come out, they'll test the waters a little bit, being like, yeah, how do you feel about trans people? Like, what's the vibe? And for no reason whatsoever, I'm just sort of curious. And you sort of see how people react, and some people will react negatively, and it lets the people know that like, oh, you're not safe to be around, and it can create a very transphobic, homophobic environment. So I like this as a metaphor to it. Like, I don't want to overextend it, but there is something queer here about like trying to test the water to see if someone will accept you for who you are, and then getting that rejection, and realizing this is someone who's not going to be safe to, and it hurts, especially from someone that you love. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's an interesting, sort of layer to add to it. My brain just started. Do you know Avenue Q at all?
Yeah, I've watched it years and years ago in college. I don't remember it
My
too well.
the back of my brain just started singing the song. If you were gay,
Yeah, yeah.
that'd be okay.
Okay. Yep. I just remember the other big song of that one. What the internet's for?
Or porn.
For porn. Porn. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I did like the scene anyways because I think I'm finding Anders especially, and he's getting a pretty good focus this episode at least. I'm finding him to be really interesting in this mix because Ty and the Chief are pretty much just burying themselves in their roles.
Mm-hmm.
Um and are just kind of doubling down on that, which, like, I'm not saying that's uninteresting, but like I get a much cleaner read on that. I don't know what the fuck Tori's deal is
Yeah.
because she's gotten minimal screen time. Shock, it's the woman of the four. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't have a beat on her
The
yet,
woman of
but
color of the four, even worth noting too. So
yeah.
yeah.
But of the four, it's interesting with Anders because he, on the ship at least, he doesn't really have a clearly defined role. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just being able to bury themselves in the work is something that Ty can do. It's something that Terrell can do. There is so much that demands their attention for the job that they're doing that they can kind of just push this stuff aside and go, that doesn't matter because I have to do this. And Anders doesn't really have that. Like, maybe in certain moments he does, and he's learned how to be a pilot, but he doesn't have a set thing that he can be doing or should be doing. And he's kind of been at loose ends since, well, especially since Starbuck died, but even before that, since New Caprica, he's been at loose ends anyway. So it makes sense that he's the one who's having a lot more of an existential crisis over this.
Yeah, like like even as a pilot, which he can do, it's still not something he's like got a strong tie to. He's kind of just been doing it as like a direction. He's still new in that role, so he doesn't have like a strong sense of self through the work of being a pilot. Not even just like he can't like go into the work. It's like I don't have a strong identity to this.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that we've probably seen him have the strongest identity towards is being a pyramid player, which is no longer a thing. And then
Yep.
also him being a resistance fighter, both on New Caprica and Caprica Classic, which is an anti-Cylon thing where he was fighting the very thing that he now realizes he is. So like that's also causing him an identity crisis as well. It's like the one
Yeah.
thing that he
No,
had some sense of strong identity in, he doesn't have anymore.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense just given the way these characters have been constructed and where they were at prior to realizing what they are. It makes sense that he's the one who's kind of spiraling. Again, Tori, who fucking knows? Big question mark. Maybe get around to that.
So they'll do stuff with Tori. Just
Oh god damn it. You get this look on your face. I'm like, fuck.
yeah, just you wait with Tori. Oh, it'll be
Okay, the
right.
fact that off the top of my head, you have said that about Tori, about Dee, and about Callie. Ron, the fuck is your problem?
Just you wait. All
Oh,
three of them. Yeah, it'll be a thing. We'll get there.
mm.
Yeah. The other thing I will note too, and then we'll wrap this section out. I also think just being on Anders again, there's also probably a good reason, speaking he doesn't have like a strong sense of identity. The only sense of identity he really has left to cling on to is like the person who cares about Starbuck. And so that's what he's trying to do here. And he's kind of like, she's not rejecting him overtly, but she was rejecting him being a Cylon, even though he.
Yeah. And also like from her perspective, it was a few hours ago, and where she and him were left wasn't reconciled.
Mm-hmm.
So like for him, he's like, "Oh, you're back," and I've got you. She's like, "Dude, the
Mm-hmm.
hell? We have not sorted this. We haven't sorted our stuff yet."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's a lot going on. He's got a lot happening, the poor man.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I mean, a lot, and it's interesting. It's
mhm.
interesting stuff with him.
Yeah, no, he's finally circled back to he was an interesting character in Capricorn Classic. He's finally circled back to being interesting again. So
Took a little while, but yeah, we got there again.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah. Anyways, another jump happens at this point, and she starts freaking out again. She's like, "I'm gonna lose. Like, I'm gonna lose if we keep jumping like this. It's Rosalind. I got to get to her." And it's like, "Well, what do you like? There's nothing you can really do." He's like, "Oh yeah," and Starbuck takes out the two guards that are around her, and then she goes, "Where's the president?" And she knocks out Sam because Sam doesn't tell her, and then she runs off.
well, not only does Sam not tell her, he kind of has this moment of like, "Come on, Car," and then she knocks him out.
Yeah, yeah. And then we cut to Rosalind sleeping in presumably Adama's quarters because that's the last time we saw that. And we then have Kara. She has a gun from the guards. She pulls out a flashbang grenade and throws it. And this wakes up Rosalind. And she wakes up to Starbuck opening up Adama's door, coming in a very picturesque shot of like the smoke coming in behind her. And she pulls a gun.
Slow motion stride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Some director was like, "Yeah, it's a good shot." And then she pulls a gun on Rosalind, and we cut to a to be continued. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm sure this will go over great with Rosalind.
Oh
Make us much
yes.
more inclined to trust Starbuck.
Well, like I said, if Starbuck was not under an increasing amount of pressure and now kind of desperate, this is the kind of thing that I'd be like, what are we fucking doing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how stupid are we making this character that she thinks this is going to work? But they've done a pretty good job at establishing the level of desperate that she is, especially immediately following another jump that puts her further away. I do actually buy her doing this in a way that I probably wouldn't in 95% of cases.
Yeah, no, it works out very, very well. But that does bring us to the end of the episode. Trying to think of what exactly I would say. This will be an interesting one here because it was something I was thinking about watching this episode. So I'm going to take the spoiler minute. It's going to be not the one that I think people will think I'm going to talk about. But if you do not want spoilers for the next 60 seconds, I'm going to talk spoilers. So jump ahead 60 seconds in real time, just like Vera is going to do. So.
And go.
All right. So, like I said, there's a bunch of things to talk about, like the final five and the reveal of their backstory, yada, yada, yada. But actually, the thing that I want to talk about most is the whole element of the one true God stuff with Baltar. Because rewatching this, it reads as even worse to me that the end reveal of the show is that there is a God. And the show kind of, in the final lines of the show, has this whole like, well, he doesn't like to be called God. But the show overtly does this thing of like, well, those gods are false gods. The multiple gods are false gods. And they're referring to Greek gods and Roman gods in the show, but it is annoying to be like, oh, you're saying these gods are false, and the one actual God that exists is the Judeo-Christian God. And it feels really insulting to like other religions, not just Greek and Roman ones, to sort of say like, oh, there is one true God. Even if they wanted to play the whole thing, well, it could be the Islamic God or the Jewish God or something else beyond all of those things. But it is saying there is one singular God. And that feels very insulting to polytheistic religions and non-Judeo-Christian religions too, necessarily
Time.
speaking. So we'll talk about that more when we get to that reveal, because I'm sure Vera will have thoughts. Anyways,
I have
speaking,
no doubt.
yes. Anyways, Vera, what do you think of the episode?
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I know I already am feeling kind of unsettled in a bad way by the cult storyline. We'll see how bad that gets. But I think this is actually pretty well paced in terms of the impact of Starbucks suddenly showing up again has on them. The stuff with Anders is pretty much all gold, like the
Mm,
locking eyes with the Raider, his little existential crisis that's happening. It's really good stuff. It's really compelling stuff. And even like the Baltar stuff sort of it's tied to the cult. But some of the, taking his moments just as moments for him are good character moments, and there's a lot of really solid stuff going on right now. This is a pretty strong opening for the
Yeah.
season.
No, I remember a lot of people dislike season 4, generally speaking, for what I will say is just like it doesn't necessarily have like the big storylines in the sense of what we get with like New Caprica, for example. Like it doesn't have that
Mm.
memorable of a storyline. I remember coming away from this season being this has some of the stuff that I like the most. There's a few things in the season that I will hate, mainly around T, Tori, and Callie. Those are the three ones I vividly remember fucking hating. So we'll get there when we get there with those three. But beyond that, I actually think this has some of the most interesting stuff. Maybe not the strongest like plot, like in terms of like this storyline was just golden. It was like the Pegasus plot or the New Caprica plot, even though we didn't love the Pegasus plot. Like it doesn't have one of
I,
those.
I I was gonna say, given that like the strong story arcs that the show has done have been not in.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. Uh, we'll see if that ends up being the case. This ends up being the case when we're done with it. Obviously, we've had our own feelings about Galactus we've watched, but I do remember this season having some of the most interesting ideas. Let me put it that way. Maybe not the strongest beat by beat plot, but I think some of the strongest ideas of the show overall. And some of the biggest moments, as we'll see as we go through the season. So
Well, we'll find out.
yeah, and I'm just to say it too. I'm with you exactly on this one. I don't have any, I don't have any hot takes or different views on it. Like I'm with you. I thought this is a strong opening, and my only real caveat is the cult stuff with Baltar. So yeah. All right then. Anything else, Vera?
Nah.
Stuff time then it is.
Stuff. You can find my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks. Patreon is what pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Any amount that you're able to help out there is of great assistance. There are perks for every single tier of support. The main thing that funds is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel. Recent-ish videos should include a look at how well the film version of Project Hail Mary adapted the book. Spoiler, very well. My top 11 Doctor Who cliffhangers, because I realized during the edit that I'd completely forgotten one that absolutely is a top 10. And so rather than remove one of the ones that was already on there, I had to insert an additional one. But that should be out close to when this comes out, either slightly before or slightly after. I'm trying not to have this become my Ferengi video, which last podcast that I edited,
Don't even.
you said, I believe your words will definitely be out by
And
the
it won't be.
time.
It won't be. It won't be.
It wasn't even probably last time. It was definitely. So, I'll try not to do that with you with the Doctor Who cliffhangers. Just understand that, like, if something more topical comes up, like when I felt the need to rip Pete Doctor of Pixar a new one, that's more topical, and the Doctor Who list is easy to bounce. So it will happen, but if other stuff preempts it, that's just what's going on. There's also the Break Room of Geeks, my secondary channel, where I talk about whatever I have watched, listened to, read, or played lately. I might try and be keeping up with Daredevil Born Again season 2. We'll see. No promises. There's also Council of Geeks on Blue Sky. And that's about it for the geeky stuff. There is, of course, also the spicy stuff.
Spicy stuff.
And for that, you look for Vera Wild.
Vera Wild.
Wild is spelled WYLDE. And you can find increasingly spicy content on YouTube.
Yeah, you know you want it on YouTube.
TikTok.
You want it. I found that so funny, but I was dying. I don't know why. Oh.
You gave it a very admirable try.
You wavered. Your voice wavered a little bit.
And I'm proud of you.
You heard it, everybody. Her voice wavered a tiny bit. Oh,
my
God.
voice wavered and you wheezed and lost your breath. We are not the same.
That's not the goal, though. It's not saying we're the same. We all know I'm weak. It's fine.
We do. We
Yes,
do know
yes,
that.
we do. Yeah. Speaking of, you can find me at Jesse Gender on YouTube where I do video essay style stuff. The Frankie video will come when it comes. Just deal with it, all right? I will also have some other videos like a Starfleet Academy Season 1 review coming as well. Overall,
Ferengi come exactly when they mean
yes,
to.
they very much
They're
do.
like wizards.
Yep, you just gotta give them some umaks. And then I also have a video that I've been also teasing that will hopefully be coming in a little bit about Hollywood and revolutionary storylines like One Battle After Another, Star Wars Andor. So check out that video. I'm very proud of it. I also have a secondary channel called Jesse Gender After Dark where I do news, reviews, reactions. I talk about recently, I'm working on it right now as of this recording, but the recent cancellation of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, unfortunately, with its upcoming second season that'll be coming out sometime next year. As well as reviewing Daredevil Born Again, amongst other things that'll be coming out. And then I am also on Blue Sky, Instagram. I'm on Nebula, the streaming service that houses my movie identities, as well as the upcoming series Subliminal that I have an episode that I directed of. And also, I am on Patreon, which helps me pay my bills. So if you want to support me, you can go over there. Beyond all of that, is there anything else, Vera?
Nah.
Then with all that said, I hope you all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.